You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me.
Hey, this is Unsealed. Welcome back, my friends. My name is Christopher, humble host, hopefully humble, and I welcome you to the official podcast of Wings of the Eagle. That is the name of what we do here. If you couldn't tell, we like our little bird. Those who are watching on video, at least. Sorry to the audio folks, but our little logo. I love this little guy, so I put him everywhere. Yeah, wearing him today. I got a friend, Jerry, made that out of a piece of wood back there. And of course, our microphone's got a little representation. Love it. So if you love this organization or ministry or group that we call Wings of the Eagle, please support it. This podcast is one of the ways we're reaching out to the world. And so please support it if you can. Go to wingsoftheeagle.com/support Unsealed. Or if you're into Patreon and supporting things that you can see or get something for, I get it. That's okay. You can do that as well. Patreon.com/Wings of the Eagle. And you can find the stuff, including a new book that we're processing, getting into writing. Pray for that if you would, if you're a believer. Thank you. Appreciate that. We have courses. We have Bible teachings, of course. We've got a private group to talk about things in the UFO world called the Aviary. All that stuff and more. So please support us if you can. Would be greatly appreciated. And hello, friends who are checking in on the YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe. That really helps. You can also support through YouTube. But anyway, let's get on to it here today. Why is the most important question we can ask in life, basically. And it's no different when it comes to the big issues of the day and the mysteries of our day. Things like, I don't know, the Bible would say it's the glory of God to hide a matter or conceal a matter, and the glory of kings to unearth it or to reveal it, to dig it up, to find out, to ask why, to get the info. And reason why this is on the top of the list today is because we can get all the facts and figures and talk to all the influencers and have guests on our shows and look at videos all day of this and that, research this and that. And that's good. Mostly. But at a certain juncture in that, you have to come to the why of it all. Like, is there the evidence shows that, even though we haven't admitted it yet as a people, that the United States government has indeed been running a program for several decades because we have been dealing with what we call UFOs or UAPs, and we do know a good deal because we've got stuff. And we've been working on it and mostly failing in trying to figure out how it works. Allegedly, we have biological remains, make of that what you will, as well. And so there was a group set up to hide that all, or to how to get to the bottom of it. Okay, they call it MJ12 or whatever you want. And it's continued in whatever form or name to the present time. and at least a faction of the people in power, quote unquote, want to keep it that way. Thank you very much. Because why? That's my question. Why? It should be yours. All right. And once we all get to the truth of the matter, which is, or the facts, what are the facts? And I don't care what you're talking about. It's the UFO thing. That's fine. It's the last 70, 80 years of cover up. That's fine. All the things that have happened in the interim in that. Okay. But even if it's the Bible, if it's things that most folks say is hard to understand or mysterious, or why would God say this or that, or why would he make a prophecy about this or that, or why is the main question. Why is the exact main question. So, and you should ask it. Doesn't mean you're going to know, but that should be the end game. Right? So let's say, for sake of argument, because we've been on this very interesting topic for over a year and a quarter now on this Unsealed podcast, if there is such a program, and we know very well that UFOs are real, regardless of what you might have heard. Yes, they're real, and there have been times where we have interacted with them as even, I'm not talking individual people, I'm talking on an official level. On an official level, there's been interaction. Maybe there's been conflict. Maybe there's been weapons deployed. What? And then someone say, why? Why do we keep shooting? Or, why would we shoot at them? Well, maybe they're shooting at us. Or maybe they're behaving in a way that's hurting people. Maybe it's a threat. Right? So I'm not going to impugn, someone's motive in the 1940s about, why it was done. But why it's continued to be not admitted is, to me, the more interesting question. I get it for a year or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 20. They didn't want to let the cat out of the bag because we've got potential World War III and whatever, and everything else just keeps, piling on top of it, and this just never comes out. What if it was never about wait? I mean, okay, at a certain point, you got to say, well, what's the holdup? Why aren't we telling? The main, from a national security, military, leadership, public service, or what you would call a protector. Someone who joins the armed forces wants to protect their family or their nation, or the innocent people from enemies without and within, right? That's why you join the armed forces, usually without, outside. So you want to protect and help people. That's your main motivation. And so that's why many of our military services have been, strongly supported throughout our history, really. And certainly since the World War II era, it's been almost an idol, almost worship of the military, because you can't do no wrong. These are selfless people just trying to do the right thing and defend our country, defend their families, defend innocent people from horrible war and stuff like that, and terrorists and stuff. Okay. Well, the why of that situation is the crux of the matter, like I wrote on Twitter or X this morning, is someone else had made a comment. His name was UFO B. If they were truly unaware of what was swarming up military bases and circling fighter jets, they would have escalated to the highest level of combat readiness long ago. In other words, this is the refrain or the reply you usually hear from government, even now, even when it does start to come out like, oh yeah, UFOs are real, and yes, they're actually, when you finally get to the good stuff of people telling the truth of, yeah, they're actually flying around our bases and our secured airspace and stuff, it's not, everyone's not there yet, but some are. And so that's a fact. And if that is a fact, if we say I don't know what they are, that doesn't make sense. Or like this poster was saying, if that was really the case, if you really didn't know, why aren't you shooting them? That's pretty much the dumbest thing you could say. Well, we don't know, so we're not worried about it. I'm sorry, that's not logical. That's the opposite of what you would say. The reason we're not shooting is because we know exactly what they are, for example, and they're okay. Well, this individual was saying they would have escalated to the highest level of combat readiness long ago. They are not in a hurry because they know exactly what this is, and they know they can't do a thing about it. Now we're getting to the why. Okay? If that's the case, and that makes sense, that's actually logical. The crux of it is the ones with power, like your leaders, okay, elected and sadly not elected, who chose to keep this a secret from you. Those leaders love power, like any other human being in any country, in any situation. Man loves to be in power and hates to give it up. That's the fallen nature of humans. But so those who are in power will never admit that they can't do anything about a threat against their nation. Especially those who are actually fighting, the war fighters or the protectors, right? The military men and women, the police, the CIA, the whatever, wherever they're working or wherever they're doing for a living to protect you, in their belief, to protect you and me. They can never, ever admit that there is something that they can't protect you from. Especially that is doing whatever it wants against our wishes. If China showed up at Langley Air Force Base with anything, they're all shot down. Russia, shot down. Of course they would. Why wouldn't they? Russia shoots our stuff down. If we going back to, I don't know, pick a situation, the U-2s, right? We didn't. This is a great example. The U-2 spy plane. When I can't remember who to give credit to this to. I just saw this week somewhere or read it somewhere. I'm sorry. The U-2 spy plane, right? This was after during the Cold War. It came to prominence around the Cuban Missile Crisis, that era, right? The 60s, late 50s, early 60s. Anyway, it was a plane that we developed. It was almost in orbit. It was so high. And it had super powerful cameras. That was the goal. Make it as high as possible so no one can see you or can do anything about it, and take pictures of their stuff to see what they're doing. It was a spy plane, right? U-2, great effect. We're flying all over the place, getting awesome pictures. And we're flying over Russia routinely, over then the Soviet Union, Russia, and plus the lands that they conquered. And we thought we had a good deal going. Turns out, eventually, the Russians start shooting at us. Like in Russia proper and in Cuba. That was one of the incidents of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Was the U-2s were getting shot at all of a sudden. And we're like, oh, I didn't think that was possible. Like, how did they know? And the Russians basically came back and said, we knew all along. We could see you the whole time. We just couldn't shoot you. We didn't have a weapon for it. But now that we do, we will be shooting you. So the point is, if an adversary is around your stuff and you have all the guns in the world and the technology and the anti-drone tech that we do have, as Americans, I mean, they're shooting, okay? You've come to my country. It's not like you're on a, I don't know, it's a U.S. base somewhere in Iraq. Or something like that, or in Europe. No, it's actually in Virginia. Or in the Midwest, look over the country, not even by an ocean. Okay, we're in the middle of the Colorado. Or the Dakotas or Montana, where our ICBMs are. There's not near any. Nobody's flying in there on where'd that come from? If China or Russia fly something in here, we're gonna know about it. Especially the what we're talking about, the harassment and the constant low level, obvious to everybody because they're friggin' blinking lights at night now. They're not even trying to hide. They're saying, come shoot me. But we won't. So the point is, the military and the government, generally speaking, they're individuals who want to, but mostly they will never admit that they cannot defend you. Or the fact is, the ones in power don't have the power. And the ones who are defending you can't defend you. If there's some kind of civilization or whatever's behind the UFO UAP thing, no matter what is the ultimate intelligence behind them, doesn't matter if they're pilotless or there's actual little beings in there or whatever. Whoever's behind it is more powerful than the United States. Much more. They demonstrate it all the time. They've demonstrated it since, I don't know, pick your date. This is why they went around and shut off our ICBMs in the 1960s and 70s. This is why they went 1980 something into Ukraine and turned on an ICBM of the Soviet Union, for example, unless you think that's all made up. But this is and what you're seeing today, what you're seeing around our Navy missions and our pilots, and this is what Fravor and Graves and stuff were talking about in front of Congress last year for the whole world to listen. They're right in our face, these things. They're playing with us. They can fly much better, faster. They can go to any medium you want. Yes, into space. Yes, in the sky. Yes, into the ocean. And, oh, by the way, this didn't come up in the hearings, but we know because we've seen it. They fly through solid material. Okay? So that's an extremely better weapon or vehicle or transportation or whatever it is than we have. It's more powerful than we are. The United States knows it. Russia knows it. China knows it. So the why would be the powerful will not admit that the power actually resides in those who are controlling the UFOs. That's the fact of the matter. And if they wanted to attack, we couldn't do nothing about it. Apparently they can even shut off our counterattack. Our defense systems. So that's the why about not telling. It's not that they don't exist, which is the cover up. It's we know actually they do, and they're not us. And reason why we're not saying is because we can't do nothing about it. So we're going to pretend like they don't exist. It's kind of like God. All right, like an agnostic person or an atheist will say, well, if there is a God, I can't do nothing about it anyway. He's going to do what he wants, and might as well live my best life. So I'll just lie about it and say there is no God. Deep down, you know. Anyway, that's the truth of the matter. The powerful don't have the power that they are claiming, and the military doesn't have the power to protect. They can't protect us. Neither of those things will admit that easily. So to me, that's a why. So either we know that they're there and we can't do anything about them. Do we know their motivation or not? In other words, the why of it. Okay. I know now why we're not saying, but now why are we waiting? Are we just going to wait it out because we think they're just peaceful and they're not going to war with us, so they must never want to go to war? Yeah, let's ignore that Colares stuff and all those dead people in Brazil. They're just Brazilians. They don't count. Or all of the people who have been abducted, let's just say they're all crazy. That never happens. That would violate that means they're not actually maybe peaceful or telling the truth, just intelligence. For instance. All right, I see your input here in YouTube. Please do, by the way, continue to ask any question, make a comment, express a concern, etc. Please do so right now. And if, by the way, you're not watching this live and you're catching it later, you can still pop in a comment and I'll do my best to circle back with you, but it is tougher for sure. That's why live streaming is the best time and place to do that. Okay. Let's see what we've got as far as comments. Brother MS in India. By the way, sorry, I'll get to your questions, I promise. I just found out yesterday that your president, another Antichrist, I'm afraid, Mr. Modi, is going to be in my town, right by my house, tomorrow, Saturday, as well as President Biden and the Prime Minister of Japan and the Prime Minister of Australia, I believe. Yeah. It's going to be a wreck over here. It's going to be a complete mess. I don't know how many guns are going to be pointing at us, or will I be able to leave or get back to my house? I don't know. Anyways, so brothers from India. Okay. Could the deep state of the U.S. government use this UAP tech against their adversaries in case the U.S. dollar loses its world reserve currency status and remain top dog on the geopolitical stage? Well, I mean, that's a very specific question. I don't know what we would start shooting just because the dollar is weakened. In fact, I'm pretty positive we wouldn't. But here's the thing. Are they hoping to... Look, I do know, and I've been told, that the desire pretty much all along has been to fulfill the fallen human desire to have a weapon first. Now, it doesn't mean we've developed anything. It doesn't mean we've succeeded at all. I don't think we've succeeded at all, actually, in reverse engineering stuff. Maybe they have, but It's not a breakthrough situation, and any technology, maybe we're learning things based on it, but as far as recreating it or using it ourselves, I don't think that's anywhere close. So I don't think we have the tech to use, brother. I mean, we've got what we recovered, but I don't think we made anything from it, or can say, "Oh, aha!" You know. Now we could have our own versions, like. So yes, the desire is there to make a weapon. Has it succeeded? I don't think so. There's no evidence that it has. Certainly not with Russia or China. Not yet. Anyway. And when you say the deep state, see the thing with what you call the deep state or the secret government or MJ12 or whatever, that's not the government. It's a small part of it. So it doesn't make decisions like when to go to war. Okay, they haven't wrestled that one away. These are people who are unelected keeping the classified stuff classified. That's what they do. There's a famous band named U2. That's correct. Bono and all that. Ireland. Yep. Astrophysicist Hugh Ross, Christian Hugh Ross, by the way. And I love Hugh Ross. I was reading his stuff on physics 20 years ago, I guess. It was really good stuff. And I think he really made me, or opened my mind to understand the reality of interdimensional realities, of that it is a thing. that's how you can exist in, let's say, an unseen state, but yet still be part of the same universe. Like, why can't you see the devil or demons or God or the angels? Anyway, I haven't heard the things he's done lately, though, because I don't know why. He's older now, for sure. Hugh Ross claims all UFO religions end up denying the deity of Jesus Christ. I don't know what UFO religion means, other than cults. Of course, all cults end up denying the divinity of Jesus. That's why they exist. Religion, like you're worshiping the UFOs, or you think they're all good, and there's that whole side of, well, I don't know. I'm gonna be careful here. Sensitive. There's a whole branch of maybe naive folks who think if there is such an intelligence with this technology visiting us or communicating with us or even taking us out of our bedrooms, that they by default must be good and must have only be here to help. Otherwise, they would have blown us up already. That's kind of the thought. So that's an open door to religion. Like, if you go on that path, okay. But obviously I'm not there. I don't know anyone who's watching who is. So I wouldn't say UFO religion is different than any other religion. All other religions will deny Jesus eventually. Because, right? That's what cults do. If Hugh Ross is correct, then Islam has something in common with UFO religions like Scientology, etc. Well, Scientology is a legit UFO religion, and it's the only real one that I know of. that actually incorporates, because L. Ron Hubbard and the whole backstory of that religion is with alien life and bad aliens and volcanoes and Xenu, and that definitely, but that's a very general statement saying it has something in common. Okay, yeah. All other religions have denying Christ in common. The biblical Jesus, not the all religions are the same crowd. That's not what Jesus preached, so we don't have to worry about that. It's a very scary thought that the U.S. military cannot defeat UAPs and UFOs in case they start attacking. That's the fact. So now, if all this is true, I've seen them. I've seen two in my life, right? Maybe some of you have seen things that that's not our stuff, and it's slowly coming out, like the Lou Elizondos of the world, not just him, but this whole process is trying to tell us the truth about this stuff. For example, we all know that, well, you should know, the Tic Tac, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago, right? Zechariah and the Tic Tac UFO. That's a morphology. That's one of the shapes or variations or flavors of what some people see flying around at crazy speeds, doing crazy tricks in the sky and in the water, coming in and out of the water, hovering over the water, going into space, that whole thing. That's one of the morphologies of a UFO. And again, it's consistently described back to the 1940s and 50s. They called it a flying butane tank back then, if you know what that is. Like a personal oil tank, like for heating your home, a big white cylinder thing, like it looked like that was flying around. That's what a Tic Tac is. And that, if the breath mint, right, they look like a little cylinder white thing. Anyway, they've been around, and the most famous one was in 2004, because it was the Fravor testimony in front of Congress. That's his incident that he was talking about, because he actually saw it with his eyeballs, and his sensors picked it up, and the cameras picked it up, and we have recordings of it, and the videos are out. So we know it's real, and it happened to Fravor is like the highest level of fighter pilot in the world. There was nobody better. Just saying, he wasn't some kook. He's the best of the best in the best Air Force that ever existed in terms of humanity, right? This is the guy, this is the squad. This is the guy who you trust. Anyway, and he's describing this Tic Tac hovering over the ocean, and something's bubbling underneath the ocean. It's interacting with something down there, and other sensors in the naval formation that he was with, other ships picked up what exactly was under the water, and it was a ginormous other object, huge. But anyway, so the Tic Tac thing, we know, and there was investigations done in the succeeding years, and by 2009, we're in 2024 now, right? So that's 15 years ago. The U.S. government knew for a fact, it looked into it, and said, this is not ours. It's not China's, and it's not Russia's. That's the fact. So we already admitted that. It came out in public a couple years later from what's called the UAP Task Force, which was set up, again, in the Pentagon by the government itself to investigate it. And this was their conclusion about the Tic Tac. So this is why the actual answer that you're going to hear, if you really press these folks on it, is, I don't know what that is. Well, I don't know in terms of, it's not from any country on the planet Earth that we know of. And it's not Chinese, it's not Russian, it's not American. Who else makes this stuff? Who else could possibly make it? All the militaries in the world aren't making it. So that, in that sense, I don't know, is fairly correct. But to say I have no idea what it could be is a wrong answer, right? They know something is there. Anyway, that was Fravor's comment. He says if they decided to, what did he say, turn aggressive, he knows that there was nothing they could do about it. Well, the Tic Tac wasn't the only thing out there. Okay. Anyway, the point is, no, he knew back in 2004. Graves and everyone else who's encountered them up to this day will all tell you the same thing. They were far superior to our best stuff. So what could we do? Hi, Bond Servant. Thanks for your patience. I may have asked this before, but if a congressperson or persons just come out and tell us, will they be prosecuted? Okay, well, a couple things there. Congress doesn't know everything. That's the problem. That's what they're finally realizing the last couple of years, is they're not being told. They're not getting the full story. There are access they're not being granted. There are SAP, special access programs, with bigoted lists. In other words, only certain people can know it, that it exists even. But the point is, that's not legal. None of that's legal because none of the Congress knows it. None of the Congress or Senate, no congressman. There's a thing called the Gang of Eight. Okay, those are 8 people in the Congress at all times. No matter what election comes up, you always have 4 senators and 4 congressmen, people, and those 8 must be told about every program, where the money is going, what it's being spent on, the name of the program. Like, they're supposed to know everything, but they don't. This is why Schumer, who's one of the Gang of 8, is so ticked off. Marco Rubio, one of the Gang of 8, is so ticked off. Why Harry Reid, who was part of the Gang of 8 when he was in the Congress or the Senate, why he was so ticked off. He's like, wait a minute. There's secret programs? I'm supposed to know that. Why do I not know that? Right? That's where this all came from. So the Congress doesn't know the answers. They might know some of it. Now, so that's answer number 1 to your question. Number 2, there is some of them, because they're not just blabbing to everyone, but between these whistleblowers, the inspector generals, and the Pentagon or the CIA briefings themselves, when they finally get around to sometimes talking to these parts of Congress, the committee on, right, the Armed Services Committee, the Intelligence, right? Like, there's committees, like a dozen or whatever Congress people, instead out of the hundreds of them, there's 10 or 12 who get a classified briefing on this sometimes. If they told that, what they heard in there, and they'll come out and say, well, I can't really tell you per se what was in there, but it's not good enough. It's not answering our questions, right? Burchett and Garcia and several of those folks have come out of those classified briefings and said, this is not good enough. We were stonewalled in there. So even what they are told is not adequate. Could they reveal classified information as a sitting congressperson? Will they be prosecuted? I'd be interested to see if they would. I don't know. I mean, legally, could they be? Yes. a Congress senator or a congressperson has no authority to declassify anything. The president does. But have they used it? Nope. That authority, I mean? Nope. Not really. Certainly not on this topic. But they can write laws to say you can't classify this and that. That's what the UAP legislation was about last year. And the part that survived, unfortunately, the whole thing was not in there, but the parts that did survive the voting created the National Archives. It says has to receive, everything must be declassified unless you say there's a really good reason. That basically is what it says, which is lame. But they can make laws that say you can't classify this particular thing from programs that, we're not being told about. You have to declassify all this. So they're trying. So short answer is A, they don't know really enough to give you any juicy details, probably. And B, could they be? Yes. Would they be? I don't know. I don't think it's ever been tried. I mean, like, no one's had the guts to do it. And then the Justice Department or the DOD would have to follow up and actually prosecute someone. I don't know. It would be interesting. They're sure told that. And of course, everyone who wants to come out as a whistleblower is told that. The Lou Elizondo, David Grush, for certain Elizondo and stuff, he still has his security clearances, which means he is not allowed to divulge anything classified, which is why it took him a year just to get this book released. It's been done, but it just came out. It just came out because the stupid Pentagon had to go through literally every single line of the book and make sure nothing was classified in it. And they still, by the way, if you read the book, there's still parts in it that are blacked out. And Lou left it in there on purpose to demonstrate how ridiculous it is. To say, look, they're still not, even though they cleared it, they still blacked this part out. Redacted. Right? So he still has his clearances, so he won't. You'll see some of these interviews that he's doing now. They will walk right up to the saying, hey, what about this subject? Can you talk about that? He's like, actually, no, I can't. He says, I know the answer, but I can't tell you because it's classified. I haven't been cleared to speak on it. So he's still playing along. Anyway, he has definitely been told and reminded, you best not say anything that's classified. Cool. Okay, this is going back to the president's visit here to my town. Obama had come to my town in November 2010. When he was passing by our area, we could not even go near the balcony because there was security and military folks all over. We just had to huddle in our rooms. Yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely going to report to the world the situation on Saturday from here. And if there's anything funny, trust me, you'll know. I'm anticipating a lot of security. And again, we are very, very, very near where he and those 4 other leaders will be. So there'll be Secret Service and there'll be all those leaders' security teams involved as well. So I'm not sure. You ever see that Golden Girls episode where, I'm really dating myself probably. And everybody's like, what? This guy's not staying on topic. There's a Golden Girls episode where they were visited by President Bush, the first President Bush. And they came in advance with the Secret Service and came into the house and, made sure everything was secure in there and did background checks on all the ladies and all that stuff. Like, I'm anticipating something like that. Bond Servant says, maybe a dumb question. No. But what national security element would be compromised for letting the people know? Again, you got to get way more specific than that, Bondservant. Let them know what. Because it's so convoluted and what they call compartmentalized or siloed. This group does this, this group does this, this group does this. And they all have classifications or classified information in them. Oops. Sorry there, hit the mic. So the different silos, the different compartments aren't even supposed to know what's in the other compartments. And they all have their own elements of the national security state. I'm responsible for kinetic, like actual shooting guns type of stuff, weapons. I'm over here doing nuclear energy. I'm over here spying or whatever. All those things. Depends what you're saying. Yeah. And that's just the nature of the beast, as it were. Right? So we've got to really, this is why this legislation, the UAP DA that's in there now that we want to pass. And by the way, everyone watching, if you're in America, call your senators today, especially if you haven't done so yet. This is the time. This is the month. What was the date I was given? I think it already passed. For what I was told by my senator in August, when they said when they reconvene in September, the plan is to have this UAPDA part done and voted on and inserted into the defense bill by September. I think they said 12th. So am I dyslexic? Was it the 21st? No, 21st is Saturday. So that can't be it. So they're already passed. And that's why it's urgent. Because something's holding it up. Somebody's holding it up. I know who's holding it up. Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell. The two Kentucky senators. Both Republicans, both conservatives. Well, Rand Paul is libertarian, which is sometimes extremely conservative and sometimes just ridiculous and wants to fight. Anyway, those are the two. So call your own and then call their offices. Although I'm told Rand Paul's office is off the hook now. Won't accept calls. So he chickened out. Or was overwhelmed. The staff people are the ones taking these calls. It's not the actual senators. Hello, Senator Paul here. Right. It's like, anyway. So yes, those are the obstacles right now. So like, just for an example, Bondservant, to try to answer you, there are videos for this small piece of it, right? We've seen the videos of the Tic Tac and the Go Fast and the gimbal, right? Those are the famous 2017 videos that have been out there now. There are other videos of those incidents and others that are much higher quality and much longer. The Department of Defense has admitted this begrudgingly because people FOIA it, Freedom of Information Act. Hey, I was told this actually has a longer version. Or where's this alternate camera? Where's this much better quality one? We can't release those. We're not going to release it. They're classified. Wait a minute. What? This other one's classified. It just has you can just see it better. Why would you classify that one? Oh, well, it's national security. Sources and methods is the ridiculous phrase that you'll hear from them. It'll potentially compromise sources and methods. In other words, it sounds really like a good reason. Thank you, Department of Defense. Don't want to compromise sources and methods of national security. It means the camera that it was shot on is still classified. So they're saying, well, because the design we haven't unclassified the actual camera to let the world know that we're using that camera on our plane. Because of that, the whole video is classified. That's how ridiculous it is. How would that compromise national security if we saw better video footage? No one knows. Nobody knows, because it's bogus. It's a lie. They're using it because they can. So that's just one example, okay? And again, letting people know which part. That there's a program that goes back 80 years, that Roswell was real, that we have recovered crashed UFOs, that we shot down UFOs, or that they somehow shot each other down? What do you mean shot each other down? Or that somehow or another it was an accident? And we just to admit that would be humongous, right? And yes, we've actually recovered materials, and we've been trying to make weapons out of them. And there's actually bodies also, and like there was things, the pilots and stuff like that, and they weren't human. Yeah. Right. So to get into all that, letting the people know that, okay, that's pretty big. And that's only from what we've known since 1947. What have we learned since then? Have there been any communication with this intelligence, with these craft, with these pilots? Has there been any deals worked out? That's the other thing too. Maybe it's not just that we can't shoot them down if they turn belligerent, they turn aggressive and start attacking, but maybe we know they are, and we're just trying to stall them and stall this whole process till we can get a gun that can knock them out. I don't know. Or maybe, maybe we have a deal like, okay, we're never gonna admit you're real. This is all made up. We're not gonna expose what we know about you or your craft or whatever. In return, you leave us alone. Don't actually shoot us, or don't shut off our ICBMs anymore, or okay, well, we'll let you abduct, 1,000 people a year, and we won't say anything or do anything about it. I mean, that's serious, right? I mean, now all that stuff has severe repercussions. Just saying, like, if just putting it out there, if any of those things are true, what are you going to admit to? Would it be a hoot to see a UFO during this meeting over you? Well, it would be something. It would be a hoot, wouldn't it? And and not without precedent over the president, right? There's one over Donald Trump at the assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. Seems like whoever this is, they're very interested in those certain people and events. Maybe they're more than interested. U.S., Australia, Japan, India. These 4 countries are an alliance to contain China in the Asia-Pacific region. That is correct. That's what this summit will be about, most likely. Well, they've met, I forget, like 4 times already, 3 or 4 times. I think that's definitely the main part of it. Why you would have to go to the president's high school, old high school, and have dinner there to talk about it, no idea. Like you would, this is something you don't need that for. This seems to be for like a farewell tour for Mr. Biden, which is whatever. Okay. I mean, he's friendly with all those people. But yeah, that's definitely, as far as geopolitical things, like that's right. Those are your ways to try to contain China. If something were to happen, those nations would need to be on the same page to respond or to stop or try to stop what China would do. Yeah. Anyway. All right, friends. I guess we're at the end of our time. I love you all a lot, even if I don't know you. Please share this. Pretty please. Support the ministry here. Oh, you don't support ministries. You're not a Christian. Okay. Support the podcast and this investigative team, a very, very small team that is trying to get to the bottom of all this, and it knows that there are bigger things at play, and is very concerned about what it will mean when these things do come out. And they will, one way or the other. It doesn't mean the American government is about to have a revelation and tell us everything. It might not be them. They may be beat to the punch. Hello, Jesse. Welcome to you. We might be beat to the punch by China or Russia, right? They might say, hey, check this out, guys. We're going to tell the world first. And not only that, we're going to tattle on what America knows. And we have proof. And here's the pictures or whatever. And here's the whatever. Here's the tech. And who knows? And we're going to actually deploy, because we figured out the weapon part, or we figured out how to make one of these flying machines. Or, who knows? Like all that. Or the intelligence itself, whatever it is, whatever you believe it is, whether it be regular old like Hollywood aliens from another planet, or something interdimensional, maybe crypto-terrestrial that has always lived here, or something ultra-terrestrial that shares our world somehow and is really not from another place, or they traverse in ways that we don't understand, or if it's standard old angels and demons, or whatever. Whatever that is, if that decides, all right, it's time to tell everybody, show ourselves, make our intentions known, put out 10,000 UFOs all over the earth right now and make them visible so there's no more doubt. All of that is possible. So eventually it's going to come out. So the U.S. government is trying to, as usual, have its cake and eat it too, which is keep everything secret as long as possible and then control the narrative. Control the narrative. You get to tell the story yourself. No one else is going to tell it and make you look bad. You're going to look awesome when it's all over, because we did it the way we wanted, and we told you 99% eventually, and that's probably their plan. That's called controlled disclosure. Chaotic or uncontrolled would be the other scenarios. Good day to you, Pastor. I was about to watch a video about this Saudi man who converted from Islam to Christianity, but I saw you live, so I came to watch you. Well, bless you. Yeah, that's Al Fadi, our brother. I believe it's our most popular video actually right now. Definitely check it out. Share that. And so we're about to wrap up here, but yeah, go check that one out next. Be sure to, as we all say, like and subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified, and give if you can. That would be a tremendous help. I mean, really, right? This is not a ministry of some other church. Okay, this is not right. This is not an organization under somebody else. There's no big tech, big bro, big money, denomination, corporation, or anything else doing this. It's just what you see is what you get. Like many others. So I understand it's tough to pick and choose who to support sometimes, but we do need it. All right. Thanks again for your understanding in that. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for watching. Until next time, this is Christopher Manti for Unseal, the official podcast of Wings of the Eagle. Till next time. Bye-bye.